My people, welcome back to your favorite You and I talk show with Louise UWACU. Tonight, my people, a champion in the house. Stay tuned. All right, my people, welcome to You and I. Tonight, we have a champion, Krista GULOIEN. Did I say it right?
It's really good, actually.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Ah, you're a champion.
Thank you.
You have medals and medals that I've been trying on.
Yep.
Just for the show.
Yeah.
But
it's
you
fun.
really won them, like for real. Wow. An athletic champion. So how many medals have you won so far? Wow.
You know, I don't have, there's a good selection here that kind of represents the journey in the last couple of years leading up to the big finale, which was the London Games, but I've got them in all different places. I really need to kind of go through my storage and, you know, find one safe place for them, because it really is a representation of 13 years that I spent rowing, and it's really fun to look back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the main medal being the Olympic, you won the Olympic silver medal. When was that? 2012 in London, in front of the Queen?
I don't know if she was there on that day, but yeah, it was, you know, the Queen's territory, that's for sure. August 2nd, 2012. Women's 8, we set out and we got the job done, brought home a medal.
That was so popular, by the way, because it kind of energized the entire country, the entire Canada. I think everybody knows about your win, you know?
I think Canadians, for a summer sport, rowing has done really well over its history. So Canada pays attention when there's rowers out on the water, and it was a fun sport to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah. So how did it feel to win when you've worked so hard, you get one chance? How did it feel?
Yeah, I think you look back and you realize how crazy it is that on one day at one time you have one chance to put together all of the pieces. You know, there's 9 humans in our crew. For it all to come together and happen the way you want to execute it is pretty phenomenal, and it feels pretty surreal. You do kind of feel like you're in a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And the cameras are there, the whole world is watching.
Which you don't think about until you really don't feel that when you're, I call it the Olympic bubble, because you're so in the process. And, you know, we were staying in a hotel outside of the rowing venue. We weren't in the village yet, so we didn't feel that excitement. And we were just basically taking our shuttle back and forth all day and practicing and getting ready for the big finale. And then you pretty much cross the finish line and everything just breaks loose on you. You don't even cool down like you're used to. You go straight to the dock, you're with the media, you're shuttled off, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is happening. It's crazy.
I won.
It's surreal, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so amazing. And then, so this is what, you came back and now you have to go into real life. You're here because you wrote a book.
Yeah.
You're not just rowing, you're also writing.
Yeah.
How did the writing come about?
Yeah, Beyond the Finish Line came about because I was, you know, transitioning beyond the finish line. It was exactly that. And I think as an athlete, you feel so grateful for the journey and the experience you have. You almost feel this sense of responsibility to move forward and to give back. And I was kind of trying to figure out how I was going to do that. And in writing through my struggles, I thought that it would be a really great way to share a journey, as well as to help people who probably felt similar feelings as me. And if they saw an Olympic medalist feeling those ways, then it would allow them to feel those ways and be okay with it too. Yeah. Whether it was an athlete or anyone really reading it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because your book is kind of, people don't know what happens to athletes after, you know, people cheer you, you win the medal, and then we kind of forget about you. But you're a real person. Yeah. Your life goes on. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens now after you win. So what happened to you?
Yeah, it was kind of like being released into the world. Is so many broad opportunities. And in so many ways it was exciting because it's like now like the world was my oyster. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I had all this time. And then at the same time it was like, oh my gosh, I can do whatever I want to do. What am I going to do? And it's not like I hadn't seen it coming or I hadn't thought about it, but at the same time, I hadn't really found another life's passion while I was rowing to change and divert my attention to when I was finished. So that made me feel super vulnerable and super just kind of scared. And in moments, it made me just want to sit in my room and kind of wait for it to pass, that feeling, because it was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. Did you miss the attention?
For sure. I think one of the things, you know, you literally cross the finish line of whatever your finish line is, and I think other people could relate to this, and you're asked, I say this in my book, humans always find the question that you're kind of the most uncomfortable with. So whether it's you just got married, people will ask you, well, when are you going to have a baby?
Yeah.
If you've just had a child, they want to know when you're having your second.
Yeah.
And if you just crossed the finish line at the Olympic Games, they want to know what you're going to do next. You're like, please, give me a second. Like, and then because I couldn't answer it, that made me feel an extreme amount of pressure. And I wanted to keep people excited about what I was doing, and I wanted to be doing something awesome still. It's not like I wanted that to be the pinnacle as much as it felt like this pinnacle of success. I didn't want it to be over. So yeah, I guess...
Especially since you're still so young.
Yeah, and when you say you're retired, people are often like, oh, must be nice. Like, as if retirement means heading to Palm Springs and kicking up and, you know, golfing or relaxing for the rest of my life. But really, my career is only just beginning, right? Like, it's at 33 when I retired, it's really, I have a long time to shape what I'm going to do with my life. So it felt more like a separation or a divorce than it did a retirement, which I think people could probably relate to better if they shifted their the way that we see it and the way we think about it for athletes.
Yeah, because your whole life you've been doing this thing, and all of a sudden, boom, you gotta end it. Mm-hmm. There's no future in it.
No, not unless you stay, and many athletes do. Many athletes stay in coaching and stick close to their sport because they still feel like they have a place to give. And me, I haven't decided that that's not an option for me. There is maybe a place for me in that, you know, realm one day, but as of that moment when I was finished, I was walking away to try to find something new.
All right, let's take a short break and come back with it on that one.
Yeah.
You and I talk show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. All right, my people, we're back with the champion, Krista. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So, what attracted you to writing?
I think originally I was attracted to writing because I was avoiding speaking. Oh. It's kind of funny, like it's natural for many athletes to go into public speaking and to do keynotes. And when I first finished, my mom was telling me, that's what you should do. And I was like, oh God, no. It was pretty painful for me to get up in front of a group of people. And it's getting easier now. And with the book, I definitely have to embrace that is a route, that's how you share with people, you have to talk. But then I went to a women's event, and there was a woman who has a publishing company, and she spoke. And after I left, I immediately called my mom and was like, I could share my story this way. Like, this is an amazing idea. And from then, that's when the kind of idea and that dream was ignited, and then I just I moved forward with it.
Nice. Yeah. So how was the whole process of writing the book? And did you write it yourself? Did you get a ghostwriter? Or how was the whole process?
Yeah, that's all me. It was pretty easy to get the story out, but for the fact that I really wish I had at times journaled to more detail, because I could have gone back and been able to say, you know, specifics more than I did. Like that is from memory, or having messaged teammates and be like, what did we do on that day? And then I edited it a little bit myself, and then I dug deep with an editor. So that was probably the most fun I had, was working with, her name is Nina, and she got right into the story with me and was able to back away and see the big picture of the story, where things would fit better, where we should move things, and that was super fun. I think a lot of people do things like this and say, I would never do that again. And I would do it again because it was a fun and cathartic process for me.
Because it allows you to process everything that happened, and it allows you to kind of examine your own, self-examine yourself and see where it's going. So you would advise people to keep a journal. People always talk about keeping a journal.
Yeah, and I would also advise people if they, I've met a lot of people that said they want to write a book, and I would say, write your book then. Like, there's nothing that should be holding anyone back. It's definitely a really cool
Because people get intimidated, right? And they'll be like, oh, I'm not a writer. Did you have those moments like, oh, I'm not a writer?
I didn't have them for myself, but other people had them for me.
Yeah,
so,
or people will doubt you and be like,
are you a writer?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a writer. It's like, well, I'm not a writer, but I can write. Like, I did my bachelor's degree in criminology at SFU, and that's an arts degree, so you're expected to do a fair amount of writing and critical analysis. And yeah, I don't want to say it wasn't hard, but and I don't really. I mean, I guess I'm an author now. Would I say I'm a writer? You know, I feel like that's a really, I don't want to encroach on anyone else's territory, but I wrote a book. It happened. So I think you could too. Anyone could.
So coming out of that high, in that high of being out there in the podium and everybody knows you and you're a winner, and you also have like a circle of women because you're many women doing this, and then all of a sudden you're by yourself. How is that transition? Because I'm thinking you're used to having like a team.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden you're just you.
Yeah, a team of, you know, like-minded women who are all the same height, who are all after the same goal.
I saw you, I was intimidated.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, she could kick my... Okay.
Yeah, and I'm often asked, do you miss rowing? And I always kind of laugh and say, I miss the women. I don't miss cranking on an oar and going backwards. Like, I really was motivated to show up for those people and to be a part of something that was bigger than me. And, you know, in moments it was definitely, you know, had a selfish endeavor to it. But yeah, being part of that team, I definitely miss that. And we are from all over Canada. We're not all from Vancouver, so we don't all see each other all the time, but we're like family now, and there's always group texts going, and I've been to weddings, and I've met babies that my teammates have gone on to have and are having.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is everybody else doing now?
We have a wide kind of degree of differences. There's 4 of the women actually are going to Rio. So
wow.
Yeah, we still got a large, I mean, there's 9 of us, so almost half, or 4.5 would be half, so 4 are going to Rio. And then there is one of my teammates who is local. She's in Vancouver as well. Another one in Winnipeg with twin girls. Yeah. And another one in Montreal who finished her law degree, and you know, she's moving forward. She's got married, is building her family. So yeah, we've got, you know, we're all over.
Yeah. So what do you see as the future with this book? Where do you want to go? Can you answer this question now?
That's a hard one. You know, when in my mind's eye only went as far as having this book come out in the month of my race, the anniversary, 4-year anniversary of my race in London. And then really, there were times where I had really low expectations, like this is just gonna be for me and my family. I don't see any success coming. And as we've gotten closer, I've started to feel like I maybe didn't have the whole conversation, but I started a conversation that A, needs to be had, and B, people are ready to have. So I kind of wonder if there could be more, you know, in that, once I launch the book, what will happen next, I don't really know, but I have a feeling I'm going to be participating in some really interesting conversations about this topic, specifically transition. Also working with the next generation of female athletes and athletes in general.
Okay, let's take a short break and then come back and continue the conversation. You and I talk show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. All right, my people, we're back. We're still with the champion. So how did you select which stories to tell in your book? Because you can't tell us everything.
It's true. There are some stories that I
Something,
didn't tell.
you know? I want to know about the party in London.
Oh, man.
After you won and then you went to celebrate.
You know, if I'm being honest, I went to 2 Olympics, Beijing and London, and going to London being my second and final, and you know, I wasn't planning on going on after that. I was like, I'm going to go out, you know, with a bang. I'm going to enjoy the Olympics for, you know, once I was finished competing, that is. Yeah. And then I really didn't. I couldn't.
What happened?
Yeah. It was
Too many people in London?
There definitely was a lot of people, and when you left the village, you felt you weren't sure if you were ever getting back or how you would get back. So that was a bit of a challenge, and I think I was you're just so mentally and emotionally kind of drained from what I had done, and everyone kind of experiences it different. I would give myself maybe a C- or a D for for that. And all the things that people say about the village, I didn't see what.
Yeah, I've
heard too,
stories.
and I can't
Didn't
say
happen to
not
you?
to me, no.
Okay,
Sorry,
I guess
guys.
it's specific people. I've heard things about athletes.
There's a lot of very young athletes.
Okay.
So I imagine they're the ones that capitalize on the.
Blame it on the young.
All right, the youngsters.
I see. So speaking of the young ones, what would you tell young people who dream of winning at the Olympics, going to the Olympics? What would you tell them?
You know, I would tell them it's completely possible, and I would tell them to go for it. I would also, you know, I've been asked the question, what would you tell your younger athlete self? And I would say, I would go back and I would tell myself to relax a little. Oh. I think I started at 21. So starting later made me feel like the pedal had to be to the metal, and I needed to go fast in order to achieve what I started to envision. And what I've noticed looking back is that the whole idea of it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in your field, you can't rush 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours happens over the course of time. It's a set amount of time.
So that's real. That thing is real.
I think it is real. Yeah.
There's no way of rowing around it.
No, even if if you're natural, you can have success by, you know, it's not to say that it can't happen, but it's definitely to say it's a way to relax into the journey. Do you know what I mean? Like, just let it kind of happen and just participate in the process, and know that success comes when you stay in the moment and you keep working towards that ultimate end goal with the small goals. Like all the medals before the silver, those are small stepping stones towards kind of the big kahuna.
So be patient with yourself.
For sure.
And why rowing in the first place? Like, how did you get into rowing? Why rowing? Why not another sport? What influenced you into specific rowing?
I never found that I was really gifted in any other sport that I tried.
But how did you discover rowing in the first place? You went
sister. I copied my sister. She started at SFU to socialize. She was doing kines, and she wanted to try something to get involved, and she kept coming home with at least fun stories. And when she told me, I thought maybe rowing's my sport. In my head, I knew that rowers were tall, and I just kind of liked the idea of it. So I asked her to look into it for me, which she didn't. So I fast forwarded to when I got to SFU myself, and I was walking through the convocation mall to sign up for rowing, and a guy jumped out and was like, "Do you want to row?" And I was like, "That's what I'm here to do." And I literally signed up. Yeah. The first practice I had, it was like, oh, wow. It felt like I met the one. That, like the way people speak of it in relationships.
Yeah.
The water is amazing. If you've never sat in a rowing boat, you are literally sitting on top of the water, and the connection with the oar, it's just a really cool experience.
I always just watch people doing it. I mean, it looks beautiful. Yeah. I don't know about myself rowing. Yeah. I would just be enjoying sitting you rowing while I'm enjoying
that would be nice.
You do that too. And then, so how many years of training did it take you, and how do you get on the Olympic team? You have to be really great, the tryouts and everything. Like,
yeah, I started in 2001 at university, and by 2006, I made my first national team. And around 2004, it's a different system now. I managed to finagle my way in and have a meeting with the head coach at the time, and I asked him if I was to come out to London, Ontario, where the Women's Centre is, would I be allowed to train with the women? Basically, copy and emulate. And he said, absolutely. I think if you want to be the best, you have to be around the best and see what they do. And so as soon as he kind of gave me the go ahead, I packed up and I started to go out for the summer months and to train with the women. And that's how I made it on the team. Now there's a talent ID system and you have to submit scores, and I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I do know that it was cutthroat and it continues to be cutthroat. You have to, it's interesting because you're fighting for a spot as a team, but you have to fight as an individual. And sometimes that means you're up against your best friends, your teammates, who I ended up racing with at the games. I also had to beat and make my way and to rank myself. So it's kind of a strange relationship in that way.
Yeah, because you have to stay competitive within yourself, and then at the same time, beat the other team that's not on your team, but you have to beat each other too.
Exactly. We pushed each other as hard as we could at home so that when we got out into the world, it would be easy. Do you know what I mean? Like we basically, my hardest race was by far my race at home for my seat. So when I got to the Olympics, it's like, not that you don't just lay back and just, it's going to take care of itself, but in so many ways, you've laid the chips before you've actually got there. And I think a lot of the Canadian athletes would be able to relate to that statement that they've pushed themselves very, very hard to get to where they are when they're standing in competition in Rio coming up in the next couple months. You're going to see some very prepared athletes who have pushed themselves really hard at home.
I believe you. Let's take a short break and we'll come back and finish. Talk show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. All right, my people, we're back. We're with the champion, Krista GULOIEN. So, which one is your favorite medal? You have so many medals. Which one is your favorite? Do you have a favorite, or you can't say which one?
Oh, I think that the Olympic medal
London
is my
one.
favorite. But there's a backdrop to that medal, and the backdrop is all the other medals. And it wasn't until the last event that I did that I took all of them, because I had just been taking the one. And then when I was going through one of my drawers or cubbies full of random things, I realized that wouldn't have come without the others. And so then I started to kind of cart around another selection of them. You know, I have a fun race from St. Petersburg there, a couple of World Cup medals, and a national race medal that was at home in Canada. And it just, all of those built towards that Olympic medal. Because
it doesn't just fall out of the sky,
no.
You know, you have to go through this thing.
Yeah,
and we don't know when you win the Olympic medal how much you've had to go through, right?
No.
We just see you and we think, yeah, you know?
Yeah, you see us every 4 years. All of a sudden, teams and crews and athletes just come out of nowhere to compete for our country. But there are world championships every year, and there are World Cups, and there's competitions that go on between.
So you guys are busy, eh?
It's a busy job.
We never know that.
No, it's not as public. The Olympics is a really exciting, you know, the world comes together and everyone's watching, and that's what makes it so special. But yeah, it's definitely every other year there's stuff going on too.
I see. So what about people who say that when you win the second place, which is silver, that some people are mad, some people are pissed off because they almost got the first one, they almost got the gold, that sometimes number 3 may be a little bit happier than number 2.
The whole idea of being the first loser or whatever they say. That's not my mindset, and I think all of us in the crew were very happy with our performance. You know, we won silver in 2010 and 2011. So on paper, it looks like 3 silvers back to back, like kind of like ho-hum, kind of boring. What were you guys doing? Being complacent? But the way we developed over those years was like crazy how much changed, how much harder we worked, what we tried new, where we developed, and it was a gold medal performance that got us a silver medal. And without having trained for gold, I guarantee you we wouldn't have even landed on the podium. So it's a mindset that was really driven towards performance in the gold medal that lands you on the podium. And you know, like we talked about in the beginning of the interview, it's one day. On another day, could it have been different? It's hard to say, right? Like it's one of those cosmic things that it kind of unfolds. So I didn't even take a moment that I felt bad about what we had done because it felt like gold.
Mm-hmm. And this is a huge lesson for all of us, for everybody. You have to train for gold if you're going to win any medal at all.
Oh, yeah.
Your spirit has to be, I'm training for the gold.
Yeah. I spoke at Softball City on the weekend, and I said 3 things. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have a performance mindset, so you have to always be looking on how to do things better, and you have to be ready to fail. Fail fast, learn from it, and move forward. And those are really, like, I tried to narrow it down to 3 specific things that I knew it took to perform, and I would, for sure, performance mindset and being ruthless about going for the top, whether that's copying the best or trying to be your best or always trying to get better, is critical.
Yeah, you know, I love the sports mentality. And so how does your sports mentality help you into real life?
I think I basically, any challenge or anything that I do, I apply really similar processes that I did when I was rowing. And during the transition, when I didn't feel as confident, there were moments where I didn't recognize the gift that sport, you know, the education of sport is so important, you know, for young athletes and for athletes all the way up to the Olympic level. And I often do things where I'm like, someone even says, wow, you're super efficient. You get back on email, or I'm like, yeah, rowing taught me that. Rowing and being on time was 5 minutes early. You showed up for your teammates. It was rude.
Same as television.
Right?
Yeah.
If you don't show up, the show doesn't happen. If you don't show up for your crew, the boat doesn't go out. So this is things that you learn to take to real life.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for writing this book. And where can people find it? And what do you wish for the future? We have 1 minute left.
Well, you can find my book. It's coming out in August. My website is a great place to find all information about what I'm doing and where you can find it if you need that. I'm also on social media, Twitter, Instagram. My book will be on Amazon. I may have a link to sell it on my book. So it's going to be available in August, and yeah, exciting.
And who should buy this book?
You know, anyone who has ever transitioned from one passion in life to another or is going to, which I believe that's a human experience that we will all experience at one point or another, I think would relate to this story. So I wrote it for athletes in transition or with that in mind, but really now that it's come to fruition, I really feel that anyone in transition would appreciate.
All right, my people, we're coming to the end. In Transition, read her book. It's beyond the finish line. So beyond what you're doing right now, transitioning into something else helpful. Thank you for being here, Krista. Thank you, my people.